the Elevate game was a fluke. I'm gonna like put that down there.
All
Like,
right. Boom. Right. Here I am with Sooblick of Arial Arise. I'm back at it with a second interview with this team. And Sooblick, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you keeping?
Doing all right. Back from Hell in a Cell, so you cannot complain when that's where you were. Um, but I'm not the only one who's been dealing with Hell in a Cell because it's been a little rough for Ariel Arise in these first two play days, right?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of like fumbled a bit in fairness, but I think it's mainly because of our own like kind of self-doubts and stuff like that. Like playing Oregon twice, starting on attack twice on Oregon. It's never going to be good in a best of one, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's always like disadvantaged, but we're not using that like as an excuse. We're just we're playing shit anyway, so like we need to step it up. We know our level is better, but we kind of got a bit shook by the game against Mirage and like kind of
Just getting in your
started playing
head.
like pussies too much, you know, and stopped
Yeah.
taking like opportunities that we normally would.
Okay, and I know this is a theory or just kind of like a mindset that some people and some analysts have across esports, which is like when it comes to those default maps. So like in CS, it would be like a Dust 2 or like a, I guess at this point, Mirage. It's kind of like some of these maps are a bit more default and a bit more, played out. So it just ends up being about gun skill or fundamentals. You don't want to take a team worse than you to those kinds of maps. And I feel like when it comes to Siege, Oregon and Clubhouse are like the two maps that just scream that kind of like, can you out fundamentals your opponent or are they on a heater kind of maps? Do you think that was a problem, or do you think it's just like should be winning on Oregon, but we're just like being too much of pussies?
We're definitely being too much of pussies, for sure. I mean, I think the first game, like versus Wildcard, like we've shown we're better than them. Like we beat them in best of threes, and we beat them in series like multiple times, or like in the past. So like the precedent is there that we are better than them.
Okay.
Like best of ones are at the end of the day like a bit of a coin flip. Like it's just which team shows up on the day, and we didn't show up two times in a row. Like they are teams that have been together for like a decent amount of time and played together. Like the guys on Wildcard, they've been together for what, like since I mean the core of the roster, like the foreman of the roster has been together since before E1.
Yeah,
And
before
then
like SI quals, I want to say even like the core was
yeah,
back in SES 6 or whatever, so they've been together for a while.
yeah, and then like Amty coming in, like Amty's good from what I heard. Like I talked a decent bit with CD and like he was really excited by like Amty's ability. So like it kind of gels in with what the rest of the roster wanted to do. So it makes sense that like they're a decent team, but I think like when it comes to playing like a series or whatever, we are just a better outfit and we play better than they do. The Elevate game was a fluke. I'm gonna like put that down there. Like
All right.
we beat them in the like major quals in a series. I think like the second map we played them was like a 7-0 on border, and in our game versus them in Xenon, they insta banned border, so they were still a bit chalked from the memories of that, and
Yeah.
it was a 2-0 in that series, but they were playing with I would say like arguably probably better pickups than they had now. Like I mean, Anti and Deity are good players, but they're only good. They're not great, right?
Okay.
They don't have the kind of same X factor as like Diffuser kind of did for them, where he could just like take over a round.
Okay.
Where I mean, there were some rounds where like Deity kind of like messed us up a bit. In fairness, like I think there's one round he just walked in bunker, killed Poison, and then killed two more. Um,
Yeah.
but
What can you do about those ones?
yeah, yeah, it's
So I don't have it on screen because Liquipedia hasn't updated with this information. But do you know who your next opponent is?
I think it's Gondor Takers. So like
Undertakers.
Fredo and
Yeah. I believe because this is an elimination match, this should be a best of three. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm assuming you're feeling a lot more confident now that it's like a best of three and you get to actually flex your map pool a little bit, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. We get to show a lot more, and I mean, like if you watched TPL as a series goes on, like we develop, we evolve, we kind of read the rhythm of a team, and we figure out how they're gonna try and play and how they're gonna approach us, and then we play against it. Like you look at that series that we played, a best of five versus E1 Ulsters, who I would say are one of the best teams in T2 at the moment,
Yeah.
and we started off 2-0. Then like third map was close, and then the last two maps were 7-2s to us. Like we kind of just like wiped the floor with them on the last two maps, be it them being chalked, be it us understanding what they want to do and what they want to get done and how they play, and just shutting it down better. But I think when it comes down to it, like in a series, we will evolve faster, we will learn, we will adapt, and we'll improve as the series goes on because we'll recognize what you're doing and like pick it apart. Like the
Yeah.
guys on our team are good problem solvers.
Yeah, and that speaks a little bit more than just Poison. That speaks to more than just Mr. P. Everyone talks about him as an IGL and how he's like one of the next IGLs up when you kind of think about those top tier two IGLs. Like who else on this team is like those vocal players? Because a lot of the spotlight goes to the IGL as being that primary voice, but I know just as important is having a good secondary voice, a good secondary caller who can support that IGL. Like who is that for Arial Arise?
I think like all the guys kind of weigh in. Like it's obviously like different amounts. Like Poison is like by far and beyond like the most spoken of all the team.
Okay.
Like he talks the most, but like Bay speaks a lot, Inrio speaks a lot, like Wes and Bru or Woos and Bryos too. Like the two of them, they chip in ideas too and different things. And it kind of goes down in like that order of like plays they want to make and adaptations they want to make.
Okay, yeah. And, just to pick your brain a little bit, now that you've seen a little bit of these first few matches play out, who for you are the like top three teams competing right now? Obviously, feel free to include yourself. But like who in your mind is gonna be showing up in the playoff semis, in the playoff finals?
I'd say it's us, Karen, and E1. So I think we're like the three of us are probably like clear cut, like top of the table, you know. Um,
No wild card. I know they beat you in OCS, which how serious you want to take that one depend varies, but they're at
I
least
forgot
got to
that that
be
happened.
close, right?
They're close, like they're close. Like it depends. Like on the day, it's kind of a toss up between them and like E1, but
Okay, so it's a
um,
consistency thing. Like
it's a consistency thing.
I see.
I mean, the precedent has kind of been set that like us and Karen, we made it to LCQ. Like
Yeah,
that can't count for nothing. And then as well, like through the qualifier playoffs and like the open qualifier playoffs too, like we proved to the two of us and E1 All Stars proved that like we have the strongest teams. Like I don't even think Wildcard made it to the
yeah. They got
qualifier.
eliminated like first or second round. So
Yeah. And I mean that just kind of goes to show like how inconsistent like best of ones are because I think they were beaten in a best of one
yeah,
and yeah like they got beaten by a team that lost out later on to another kind of like mid team or something and yeah I wouldn't bank results off of best of ones to be honest. I just look at who wins the series.
yeah. Agreed. And so are there any like personal rivalries or people that you really want to beat out there? Should the brackets bless it? I know you. I believe you played with Ozone back on Dilemma, so there's always a bit of fun rivalry with like beating people that you previously played with. Is there any of that for you?
um For me personally, not really. Like I'm still like relatively new to the NA scene. Like I was coaching in EU before for like 6, 7 months,
Okay.
with one roster, and then I jumped over to Dilemma because they offered me a spot with them.
Yeah.
Um, And then since then, I've been kind of working with the that kind of group of guys. And then like when Wes and Bryos and like Woos jumped over to Arial Arise, so they gave me a shout out, like messaged me asking like if I could help them out with some stuff. And
Now you're
yeah, so I'm
here.
still yeah, now I'm here still. So I'm still pretty new, so I don't really have like any personal vendettas or like rivalries, but I think the boys as well, they don't really like look at anybody else at the moment as competition.
Okay.
Like it's just another team we gotta beat. Like there's nobody that like we are setting out to beat at all. We all just kind of look at them the same.
All right. Cool. And then last thing here, is there anything you want to say? Anyone you want to shout out? Anyone to plug? All the good stuff.
I mean, I just want to shout out to the guys on Aerial because like we don't we for the last while we haven't been able to scrim that much, but when we do, we show up, we work hard, we're constantly trying to improve. Like I'm extremely motivated to work because those guys put in the graft every day. Like they're trying so hard. Like you have Bay like grinding his social media stuff, like content
They're good
creation, Twitch
edits.
streaming.
They're very good.
Yeah. Yeah, they are, and like Bryos as well. Like he's dropping like a YouTube video nearly every other day or something. Like those boys are grinders. They're here to work and they're here to prove themselves that they deserve like a spot in tier one. And like I think if we keep on this trajectory and we keep improving and we keep like learning and getting better, that there's nothing really stopping us, and there's no reason we shouldn't be a tier one outfit.